It's great to see everyone this morning. I want to thank Victoria for your beautiful prayer. Thank you very much. And I want to thank Nicole as well, and thank you for acknowledging those terrible events this week so that we could come together in a community of love and acknowledge those, honor those. I think that in a way we're all in ministerial school. We're all learning to take the virtues of life and articulate them and express them in our lives. And such a key to that is the ability to stay affirming, to stay positive, but to not be blind to hurts or terror or pain, because the moment you do that, you miss out on a very important part of life, as awful as it is. And so I think it's so important that so many of us walk in here, I don't mean to speak for you, with hurt. And although we all have different stories about our hurt or even our national hurt, I think at some level it's all the same hurt, which means that the right response to that hurt is always the same. It's a greater love. It's a greater embodiment of those principles that we teach here. It's a greater inclusivity, a greater sense of unity, a greater sense of kindness, a greater sense of compassion. And the thing that happens, especially when we look at events that happen in our country that are terrible within themselves and yet expose these huge wounds that we've always had and we don't know if we'll ever heal. It's not our role to try to fix them, to try to plug them up, to try to put a rug over them so we never see them again. It's our job to acknowledge them and to practice what we know in our heart to be true. Again, that inclusivity. Again, that's unity, that compassion. And so I know that as unsurmountable as some of these great pains or challenges that seem to be, as much as we can't take away some of the events that have taken place, I do know that we each have a role, and we each, in a sense, as being spiritually conscious beings, have a responsibility to practice our values with even more clarity at times like this than at any other time. So I appreciate this community being a part of that. And although we're talking about prosperity all this month, I think that we'll find that some of the things taking place, the hurts in our lives and the hurts in our country, kind of play in a little bit to what we'll be talking about. We're in the middle of a series this month called Pathways to Prospering. And last week I asked you to think about what your worth is, what your value is. Not your financial worth, but your human worth. Arguing that there's no such thing as prosperity in any of our lives. There's no richness or sense of abundance of life until we are willing to accept the miracle of our own existence. The miracle of living where we live, of knowing the people we know, and really honoring the value of that. It's only when we do that and live from that place that we truly live prosperously, because it's only then that we really live in knowledge of the truth of who we are. Today, I want to ask the question of what real wealth is. Can we know our own value, but can we know what real wealth is? And I'm sure you can guess that I don't mean money as real wealth, although I do think that thinking about some of the things you would do with a lot of money can help you understand what real wealth is. As painstaking as it is sometimes, I think that it's a great question to ask ourselves. If you won the lottery, what would you do with it? I'm sure everyone here has thought about that, right? Or if you had $1 million or $5 million or $10 million, what would you do? Anybody? Carl, well, you were ready even before I asked the question. You had your hand up back there. What is it, Carl?
Love and peace.
Love and peace. Awesome. Yes. Jerry? Animal rescue. Awesome. Anybody else? Judy?
Many, many friends and lots of love.
Many, many friends and lots of love. And I'm seeing a pattern emerging here. I love and respect the Billionaires Foundation that Bill and Melinda Gates with Warren Buffett started, where they have gotten over 150 billionaires from 10 different countries to commit to give the majority of their wealth when they pass away to good deeds. It says something about what real wealth is, doesn't it? I think about, whenever I think about winning the lottery, I think about my grandmother too, because she used to dream about winning the lottery, and she always would share with me that if I win the lottery, what I'm going to do is buy a row of houses so all of our families could live next door to each other. And when she would tell me this at 17 or 18, I'd roll my eyes and I'd say, please God, don't let my grandmother get along with that. But I understand it so much better now, that her number one desire was to care for the ones that she loved. And so I'm sure I buy a lot of things for myself if I won the lottery, but it'd really be about getting to live in gratitude and in generosity. And for me, I don't know what you think, but to me that's what real wealth is. It's living in generosity and living in gratitude. When I can freely help support, not take care of, and I don't really like that term, but support the people that I love around me, and live in awareness of how blessed I've been, and know that because I have that awareness, I am now called to be a blessing the best I can to those in the world around me. That to me is what real wealth is. I brought a video to share with you today, and I thank Jack for helping to set it up here. Okay, I'll come right over there. Don't look at my password, everybody. Hots for you. I don't know what it would be. But this video is about a gentleman named Robert Brown, who was a great civil rights leader. He worked with the Nixon administration, and just watch it for yourself. I first learned of it at the religious science convention we had recently, and notice the author of the book that he's inspired by. Oh gosh, what did I do? Two guys walk into a bar.
I think just the sound is down because it's running.
Got me there, Steve? Sometimes it takes a second. Well, sometimes these things don't always work. I'll try it one more time.
It's buffering.
This happened the last service too, and it started to work, so. It's okay. We will send this out in our church newsletter this week, so you'll get to see what I'm talking about, okay? So we'll go ahead and let that go. It's okay, I'll just go like this for now. Unless the volume starts, then we'll start to sing. But Robert Brown, he worked for the Nixon administration, and he's focused his life on being generous to others. And one of the he started a book program where he collected millions of books to bring to the children of Africa who he knew had been greatly banned from reading because of apartheid. And so he dedicated himself to this search, and UPS and some other folks have helped Robert Brown to do this. And Robert Brown shared that what inspired him in his life to be generous, to live in gratitude, was the book by Ernest Holmes called It's Up to You. His grandma had given it to him when he was a young boy. He read it over and over again, and it got him going on this mission. And what I love about the story, as you'll see when we send out the video to you over email, please sign up for our email list if you're not on it, is not only how giving he is, but how receptive he is to the gift of life as well. Isn't that such an important part of prosperity? Not only to give the gift of life and be there for others, but also, of course, to be receptive to that gift, so that we can give it to a greater degree. In It's Up to You by Ernest Holmes, Holmes tells us, if a man knows that life never began and will never end, he will be immediately fortified and inspired to begin the work of bringing out perfection in his daily life. When a man understands that God is incarnated in him, that he is a new creation, an individual impartation of that which is divine, he feels a new birth. When he grasps the fact that the divine thing in which longs to be will always be, then will his intellect see it and his emotion respond to it, and life can no longer frighten him. That to me is one of the great truths about gratitude and generosity is it doesn't matter how much money you have to start practicing them. All you need is a consciousness of how blessed you are to be alive and a desire to be a blessing as well. And when you have that, you can start right now. And you can start on that pathway to prospering, starting to be generous and starting to be grateful in your life. If you have a little bit of money, maybe it looks like giving a little extra tip when you go out to eat. If you just have enough money, maybe it's offering the person next to you a French fry or whatever it may be. It can look like honoring and saying thank you to people that are important to you in your life. It could be like taking good care of your body or doing things that you find restful and meaningful. It could be practicing what Carl talked about in that most simple way of just being a presence of love and peace. Living from that place of generosity and gratitude gives us everything we need. It really sets us on that course to receive in a greater degree. Now, it sounds easy the way I'm saying it, right? Just live in generosity and gratitude, but it's hard for a lot of us sometimes too. And the reason why this is something we touched upon last week too when we started the series, is that so many of us are in great debt. Not financial debt so much as a great psychological and emotional debt. We'd love to live in generosity. We'd love to live from a place of gratitude, but our spirit is just trapped in incomplete experiences that we haven't fully processed yet. Our ability to live is held back because we get caught up in judgments about ourselves and life and others. Our ability to live fully present and in gratitude and generosity gets impeded upon because we've invested so much time and energy into limited beliefs and ways of thinking about ourselves that have impeded our ability to live in the fullness of life. Just a few weeks ago, I had a difficult conversation with somebody, and they said a couple things, and it hurt my feelings. Oh, it hurt my dick. And I probably said a couple things inartfully too, and I did what so many of us do. I just kept thinking about the story over and over again. You ever do that, like it's going to change something? But there I am trying to go to bed, and there's that. I'm going over it again and again. What could I have done differently? How could I have fixed that situation? And it's always so hard. And what it has a tendency to do in my life is it takes all my energy away. So I would have problem being present to people that I love. I would have issues getting centered or having my meditation time in the morning because I was in debt to this experience, and it kept taking and taking from me. And what happens is I start thinking about all experiences I've had like that one before. So stuff when I was 15 it comes up, and that's the thing with debt is you could have done all your work around it, but it's very easy to reopen the account at any time. You can go back to those places. And I think we all know the way to get out of debt isn't, we can't go back and make a payment back then. We can't go changing the past, but we can change who we are in relationship with that past experience. We may have hurt in the past, but now it's ours to pay that debt by practicing love in the present. We may have discord or anger in the past, but it's up to us to pay the debt with forgiveness and atonement and making amends in the present. We can't transform the people in the past and make them better, but we can make ourselves better in spite of anything that they've done to us or we feel that they've done to us. When we look at the horrible events of this week, not only in our own countries, the officers being killed, the young men being killed, perhaps without cause, all these awful things, but you look around the world, we have hundreds of people killed by senseless terrorist attacks around our world. And I would love nothing more than be able to take those moments back and have them work out a different way. But we who are responsible know that there's no taking away that bloodshed. There's no taking away that pain. What we are called to do is to recognize the meaninglessness in those situations, but to make meaning out of them with our life now. That's why we respond with those values of understanding, with listening. We can't fix always what is broken, but we can be a presence for a wholeness and a greater understanding to emerge, not just in our personal life, but in our local life and in our communal life. Not by trying to solve problems, but being a presence so that they can be, what needs to be healed can be emerged, so that we can move forward with greater clarity and greater consciousness. I love something simple and sweet that Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker tell us in our book of the month, Richer Living. They say, knowing that the spirit within me is free, I am no longer bound by the patterns of yesterday. I can't think of a better statement for getting at a spiritual debt. Knowing that the spirit within me is free, I am no longer bound by the patterns of yesterday. When we can get ourselves out of emotional and psychological debt, we can be a presence for others around us to do so as well. And it's not a debt that's just thinking about bad experiences past and how to move forward from them. Getting out of debt is something we can do with our whole life. It involves everything that we're doing to allow ourselves to be more present and aware so that we can live from that place of generosity and gratitude. I included something in your program today. I'm trying to give us every week here something tangible or practical to work with. But it's something I think that helps us get out of debt too. It's called the Truthful Living Checklist, and I've adapted it from one of our Centers for Spiritual Living ministers, Reverend Dr. Alice Bandy. And she asked us some questions. They're highlighted here. I'll let you look at some of those below, but one of the things that we can do to get out of debt and live more present is we can create space for new prosperity. You can clean up your living space. You can clean out your car. I've seen some of them in the parking lot. You can return anything you've borrowed. You can organize files and records. These little things, they help with that energetic, right, of welcoming new things into our lives. You can restore integrity to your relationships by acknowledging any broken promises, making amends or apologize where needed, forgive where necessary, communicate anything that must be said. Doesn't that take the load off? Doesn't that take the debt off? Bring integrity to my finances. Make arrangements to pay any debts. Collect any money owed to me. Make a spending plan. Create balance for my own being. Am I eating healthy? Do I take time to play and enjoy life? Do I take time to love those important to me? And lucky you, there's two sides of this, so there's a lot of work to do, and I'll just read the headings here. Am I creating balance for my own being? Am I being truthful to my time? Am I centered in my true self? By bringing clarity to our activities, we bring ourselves back. We give our spirit back to ourselves from anything we've given it to that it should no longer belong to, that no longer serves us, so we can live with a greater sense of love and clarity. You know, there's bad debt out there, but there's also good debt. And I think there's a spiritual good debt. It's that debt that we owe to that presence that put us here to live during this time. It's that presence who's presented to us those who we've had the opportunity to love and be loved by in our lives. It's getting to live in this country, it's getting to be in this city, it's getting to be with the people around you. There's a good debt that we have. And again, it becomes our spiritual responsibility to honor the blessings we've been given so that we can be a greater blessing in our life. We're closing each week of these talks with a prayer from the 365 days of prayer in Richer Living. And so, if you'd like, just join me in prayerfulness as I share these words. When we recognize the Spirit in anything or anyone, there is an equal reaction from the Spirit back to us, and we are made more alive through the divine influx which follows our recognition. I believe there is but one power and presence in the universe, which is God, the living Spirit Almighty. Therefore, disregarding any appearance which seems to contradict this divine fact, I press forward with a certain knowledge that I am forever one with the invisible presence which is able, ready, and willing to direct all my ways. So I invite us to become aware of the richness of life itself. I ask myself, am I open to experiencing this richness of life in every aspect of my being, in every facet of my experience, in every instance of my relationships? Am I willing to let go a way of thinking that is limiting me or keeping me from being my highest, most true self? Am I open to experiencing that love and light of spirit, that presence which knows even in the midst of unknowing pain or misunderstanding, reminds me of that deeper truth, knowing that whether we are walking through a time of hurt or a time of deep joy, it never affects the wholeness of the Spirit within us. Each calls us in our own way, in its own way, to demonstrate that deep knowing, that deep love, which honors the truth not only that there is one God, one power, and one presence, but that we are one people, one human family, one connected heart. When we bring this into our lives with clarity, with consciousness, we demonstrate that unity. We demonstrate that healing. We demonstrate that love we seek to know for ourselves and one another so much. May we accept it now. And so it is. Amen. Thanks for your time, everyone, this morning.